Okay, so what things do you think you could have done better last year that you're excited to implement this year?
So last year, I would say that one of the biggest things that I learned was you don't know what you don't know. And so by hiring a coach and learning stuff, just opening my eyes to all kinds of new strategies,
Yeah.
different mindset, thinking about things differently. And one of the books that I read this past year was 10X is easier than 2X. And it's essentially the same amount of work to build a company 10X the size as it is to double your company size.
Let's go. We're live. We got another episode of Adversity Kings. Special guest today. We got Parker Patterson. He's a 28-year-old entrepreneur in the healthcare and real estate investment spaces. Respectfully, he and his wife, Catherine, have built multiple seven-figure businesses in their 20s, and we're going to talk today. So I'm excited to dive in, bro. Get to know you even more. We met on Spofford's yacht, and you've been crushing it, doing incredible things. And come to find out, you were also in the life insurance space. So we'll get into all the businesses, but let's start where you were born and raised.
Yeah, so born and raised in Wimberley, Texas,
Yeah.
just outside of Austin, a little town there, and kind of grew up with a little bit of a unique upbringing. So my parents have a special needs adoption ministry.
Okay.
So I've got 11 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
9 of them are adopted, and 7 of them have pretty severe special needs. So
Yeah.
I grew up in a full house
Yeah.
with lots going on, and got to experience a lot through that. With many of my adopted siblings are from all over the world, so
You have
lots
to
of
have the
different backgrounds.
sweetest, most patient parents in the world.
They're incredible. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's amazing. And are they faith-based?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you hear me over here ripping this morning. So the first thing I get into every morning is the Word. I throw in my worship songs, and I wouldn't consider myself the hyper religious. Maybe I shouldn't say hyper. People don't like when I say I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. You know what I mean? I believe in God. I believe in Christ. But I think I emphasize that I'm just an average man. I make mistakes. I don't know. Every day I'm making mistakes. I'm falling in sin, etc. But I try to make sure people know that I'm just like any other man. You know what I mean? But I believe in God. I share His word. I try to live by His word to the best of my ability every single day. So it's awesome to see and hear that. And it makes a lot of sense, the success that you have. I believe the prayers of our parents really impact our lives. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Breaking curses, generational curses, and helping us just, this energy they put over us, helping us formulate a life of success. Not overnight, but over time. So I look back, I'm like, man, God, how have you done this for me? And I'm like, man, it was probably all those nights my mom was praying for me as a baby, all the way up into my teenage years when I was an absolute menace. So okay, so you grow up, you have the special needs adoption that your family specialized in, and these adopted siblings that were around. What was your upbringing like then? Elementary school, what was that like?
Yeah, so I was homeschooled for most of my life, and with that was pretty unique. We got to travel around a lot and got to experience things firsthand, which was wonderful. We got to go, not be in a traditional classroom setting. It was essentially like a small private school that my parents built. Actually, my dad and I built the building ourselves. It was so I grew up with horses and cows on a ranch, and we built this barn with a schoolhouse that was inside of it. So think like Little House on the Prairie type.
I used to watch Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah.
So I told you I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah, that's really cool.
We raised Tennessee Walkers. So those are the show horses that like kicked their legs out in the front, real hardcore. I was just talking to my dad the other day because I started. I'm going to try to do a podcast. I DM'd him and he said he'd hop on. Dale Brisby? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we were talking about potentially doing a podcast.
Very cool.
I forget what part of Texas he's based out of, but I was watching him do podcasts with J.B. Mooney, one of the biggest rodeo riders like in the world, one of the richest, I think the richest of all time. And I told my pops, I was like, remember when we went to the rodeo? And he's like, absolutely. So. That's an incredible. Did you guys just have regular cattle and horses, or did you have any bucking bulls and broncos?
Mostly quarter horses. We competed in team roping.
Okay.
My brother still competes.
Pretty
competitively, and I'm not doing it currently. I just don't have time to mess with it. But that's what we grew up doing, traveling all over the country.
Yeah.
Competing in rodeo, doing all that. So.
Is the quarter horse one of the faster horses when it comes to?
They're fast enough. There's plenty that are faster, but they're more of like an all-around type horse.
which horse do they use for the broncs?
Those are a lot of times quarter horses too.
That's what I was gonna say. I think they're quarter horses also for the broncs.
Yeah, they can do a lot of different things.
Now, how do they get them to buck so crazy? Like, is it just because they just don't let them see any humans or something? They just
No, it's actually bred into them. They just love to do it.
wow.
And they've got special riggings and stuff that help.
Are they ever chill? Can you ever just ride them normally?
Yeah, I actually had a horse. This is kind of a crazy story, but I had a horse that was a team roping horse that we'd saddle her, go rope on her, go do all the stuff. And then she ended up not being quite what we wanted for that, but she bucked really hard.
Yeah.
So we sold her as a bucking horse. And
Wow.
she ended up having a career as a bucking horse after she was a team roping horse.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sick, man. Okay, so you guys build your own school. You're living on a ranch, and you're working with quarter horses. What about the cattle? What was their purpose?
Mostly just for us to rope.
Okay, so you were just roping cattle?
Yeah.
Okay, and so from there, you do school, homeschool. Did you have any public school? Like, how did you get exposure? Typically with the homeschool, sometimes you don't have a lot of, public school exposure. Obviously, no public school exposure, but the things that a public school might bring, having exposure to different walks of life and strangers' beliefs and things like that. When did you start getting exposure to the outside world and be like, oh, there's a lot more out there?
Yeah, so a lot of that was through the rodeo community, just getting plugged in with that.
Yeah.
Through the travel that we did. I also played competitive baseball, so I was on select baseball teams growing up. So we traveled the country playing baseball, traveled the country rodeoing. So got to meet a lot of people through that. And
It's crazy. The rodeo goes everywhere. I've been a Lifetime Fitness in Chicago and seen like rodeo guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember one morning, it was like 6 a.m. This dude's got a big buckle on, and I'm like, okay, we're in Chicago. Why? Like, what is this dude doing here? And older black dude. And I was like, what is this dude? He's got his cowboy hat on, and I could tell it wasn't just your typical, like, he was just some Chicago fanatic, threw on some Western fit. I could tell it was a legit, Western. This dude was working some ranch or something like that. And he was like, I'm in for the rodeo. I was like, there's a rodeo in Chicago? I was like, there's no way there's a rodeo in Chicago. Come to find out, he was just passing through. There was a rodeo nearby the area. But it made me think the rodeo goes everywhere. So that makes sense in regard to like exposure of like different walks of life. Because you just see it, there's so many different types of people riding these bulls and participating in these rodeos and all the different events. And that's super sick, man. That's super sick. So what do you feel like you learned growing up from your situation? What are some of the things that you feel like kind of instilled into you from your childhood?
yeah, so I got a first class ticket to seeing what hard work looks like with my dad.
Yeah.
So he's got a farmer's insurance agency. He's been extremely successful in that. Actually, in 2019, his agency, while I was working with him, was the #1 farmers agency in the entire country. 14,000 agents, he was #1. So
He's got 14,000 agents.
out of 14,000 farmers agents across the country, his agency was the #1.
Okay, I was about to say, I was like 14,000 agents is insane, but still to be #1 out of 14,000,
Yeah.
a couple thousand is probably underneath his agency, I would imagine.
Yeah, so got to see what hard work looks like firsthand, just growing up with him. And that's what also facilitated all the things that we were able to do with adopting the kids, traveling the world, doing that, competing in rodeo. None of that would have been possible without the financial means of that. So I got to see a glimpse of what that looks like just by being exposed to it from my dad. So godly man, setting a great example of providing for his family. And I mean, I don't know anybody that can outwork him. I mean, the dude, we always joke, he has like, we call it a big motor.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally can't sleep past 5 a.m. Like every day he's up, regardless of how he feels, working hard physically outside on the ranch stuff and then just killing it at the office. And
How old's your pops?
he's 52 now.
Wow.
Yeah. And still could outwork us put together. I mean, just
There's something about country work ethic. Where was he born and raised?
mostly in Central Texas.
Mostly Central Texas. Is there a lot of oil workers out there? Me and my girl started watching this show, Landman,
Oh yeah.
and it's just Midland, Texas, and all these oil workers. And I remember one of my best weeks in sales was I ran into an oil worker union. It was called the Operating Engineers, like Local 166. And they all worked the oil field, and it was all up in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, all around there. And it just made me realize, like, there's something about the South, though. I remember cleaning out horse stalls. It's probably one of the first things I was doing before walking was just throwing into a horse stall with a pitchfork and just start cleaning horse stalls and throwing hay bales.
Yep.
But, what are your thoughts on that country work ethic in comparison to, other demographics?
Yeah, I think it's in a league of its own. I mean, the hardest workers that I know are, that blue collar work ethic,
Yeah.
working outside, working with your hands when it's hot, when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And it's just normal. So it's not anything that is glorified in that world. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's just another day.
Yes.
So I think people that come from that background, when they step into anything else, it's like, wow, like, people aren't even trying. Like,
You literally,
their work ethic is just, it's a little different.
when I found life insurance sales and they told me I could make hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars without sweating, and I was like, this has to be fake, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't a real thing. I worked at UPS in high school for 2 years, so I was loading 53-foot trailers. I don't know if you've ever met anybody that's worked at a UPS facility.
Yeah.
But these trailers, it's not temp regulated. So if it's in the summer, you got a 53-foot oven. You know what I mean? And you're loading it from front to back. And it reminded me years prior to that, though, work in the fields. You know what I mean? Working, like, I remember my dad dropped me off once at his dad's, my papa's, and said, hey, you're going to clean the field out today. And I just had to pick rocks out of a field all day long. I had to have been like 8 or 9 years old. Mm-hmm. But like just the southern, and nobody ever like look at that as like, oh, it was a, rough thing for a kid or anything like that. It was like, we're going to do yard work, field work, ranch work, farm work all day long. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
You
We used to fill up wheelbarrows full of rocks.
Yeah, you go get people like probably watching like, what is it, child abuse? I was like, no, you got to go get the rocks out, make sure the horses aren't stepping on anything.
Yep.
Bad out there in the fields and things like that, or crazy thing. You got fence maintenance. Mm-hmm. That's a job every single day. It seems like there's something wrong with a piece
Always
of the fence.
Something. Plumbing fixes.
Yeah.
Something's breaking.
Yeah.
Whatever.
If pipes freeze over, you guys ever have pipes freeze and burst in your barn, and then you got
times. Yeah.
Insane stuff people wouldn't even take into consideration, and that's why it's like, people probably look at like farms as like these like super high profit margin businesses. A lot of times they don't even profit much.
No.
If at all. You know what I mean? People are really just doing it out of like, they love to do it. Mm-hmm. What about your mom? Where was she born and raised?
Born and raised in Bernie, Texas.
Okay.
So Central Texas area.
Central Texas.
They met in college at the time, Southwest Texas University, which is now Texas State.
Yeah.
It's in San Marcos. So
that's sweet.
That's how they met. Yeah.
Have you guys done any? I did a DNA thing, something. I don't know, one of those like 23 something. I don't know what it was. Where it's like looked back into like my history, where my mom was from. She's like Czechoslovakia. My dad's like some African tribes in Africa. Have you guys done any of that to see like nationality where you trace back to?
Yeah, a little bit. Actually, my grandma on my mom's side was super into genealogy, so she like traced all that back. So a lot of German heritage on my mom's side, and then on my dad's side, a little bit of German, a little bit of Irish, a little bit of Native American, just kind of a mutt.
Yeah. Like maybe like a little bit of a Viking or something.
Maybe.
Get that Viking look. That's sweet, bro. Okay, so when you start to hit, the adult years, 18, 19 years old, what's life looking like then?
Yeah, so I joined the family business, got my insurance license like the day I turned 18. So I was working when I was 17.
You were making dials, weren't you?
Yep. So 17, before I got my insurance license, I was at the office making collections calls, taking trash out, doing all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Then got my insurance license when I was 18. Was going to school at the time, so I went to Liberty University. I did that online. So going to school online. So I'd work for
And that's a Christian college.
Yep.
Yeah. I looked into it when I was I think in high school.
Yeah. So it allowed me a lot of flexibility to get my education while working. So I was learning the business from the ground up, and then doing my schoolwork at the same time. So my dad's office building had office space upstairs, and then downstairs was like the main ops. So I'd go upstairs, get my schoolwork done, and then come downstairs and sit at the desk and get work done in the office. So that's how I started. Did that. I got my bachelor's degree in 2 years. So I graduated when I was 20. So went full-time into sales after that. So mostly PNC. We did a little bit of life insurance, but mostly PNC. And
what were you specializing in PNC? Isn't it home, auto?
Yep, and commercial insurance.
And commercial. So which one did you specialize?
Mostly commercial, and then the auto and home as well. So kind of just packaging all that together and working with business owners. And for me, that gave me a really unique perspective of learning about a lot of different businesses, because when you're insuring businesses, you have to make sure that all their risks are properly covered. So you learn a lot about what their exposures are, and you kind of see behind the curtain of how these businesses work. So I got exposed to thousands and thousands of different types of businesses, just from doing quotes, working with people, and got to see, what worked for people, what didn't work for people, see businesses come and go. And that really opened up my mind. One, it was a great networking tool just to get to know a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But two, to be able to see kind of behind the curtains to how their businesses operated, and then see them outside in the world. We were, in a small community, so seeing what their, normal day-to-day life looked like, and trying to figure out, what these different businesses were all about, who would I potentially want to emulate, things like that. So that's what kind of got me interested in real estate, was, working with people in insurance and insuring their rental properties. And I was like, these guys are doing something a little bit different. This is unique, and kind of sparked my interest, and started reading books and stuff from that all started from a personal connection, just selling them insurance. So
That's fire. Super fire. When did you know you wanted to start making a bunch of money? Was it as a young man, seeing how successful your dad was?
I think that I kind of fought it for a little while. I felt like I had, this drive, but I didn't really know what to do with it. And I was really hung up and anxious about getting it wrong. And, just speaking to myself at 20 years old, I was so anxious and nervous to go pour effort into something and have it be the wrong thing. And what I can see kind of on the other side of that is it's not so much what you do that matters so much as how you do it.
Yeah.
And if you apply yourself and work very, very hard at whatever trade you choose, whatever direction you pour yourself into, you kind of find that value in the work.
Yeah.
And it could be selling life insurance, it could be selling assisted living, it could be being a trash man, whatever it is. If you're working hard at it, you're going to find fulfillment and value in that.
That's that Andy Frisella. I can hear it in you.
Yeah.
I've been listening to that dude since I was probably 18, 19 years old when he first started the MFCO project. Remember that?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember. He's been preaching the same message now for at least to me, how long I've been listening, almost 7 years now, of you could be a cheeseburger flipper. You be the best cheeseburger flipper in that entire building, in that entire organization. And, not overnight, but over time, you'll work your way to the top. I think it was recently Nike, Starbucks, one of these massive companies had a internal promotion to an executive position. And I swear the guy started entry level, like janitor or something like that, and just stayed committed for 20 plus years. I can't think of the specific company, but I know it was in the news. And I watched a lot of Patrick Bet-David. You know Patrick Bet-David? I think we talked on that too. So, man, I think a lot of young men and young women entrepreneurs can relate to that, of the anxiety of, is this the best thing that I can do? Is this going to bring me the biggest return on investment? Is this going to have the highest profit margins? Am I going to look the coolest? Am I going to get the money the fastest? And I think that's so true. It's like, it's not a matter. That's the wrong metrics. If you're asking those questions, odds are you're not going to be successful. The right question is, are you ready to fully commit and max out every single day? Give your absolute best to this craft, to this thing you're about to pursue.
Yep.
That's so true, man. That's so true. So when did you realize and you wanted to pivot from insurance? And what was insurance like for you?
Yeah, so insurance for me was getting over a lot of fears. I was very introverted. So being in a sales role, it was like my dad saw it in me, and he was like, this is something that you've got the talent to do, but you're your own worst enemy, and you're getting in your own way by not being good at communicating and just being, having that kind of shy tendency. So he threw me into it. He was like, whatever, you're picking up a phone book and dialing. So you're going to get over it real quick. And I did. And I woke up just like sick to my stomach every day. Like, oh my God, I got to get on the phone. I got to talk to these people. It's going to be horrible. And it sucked at the beginning. And then you go do that, make a few 10,000 plus phone calls and talk to thousands and thousands of people. And then you start building a little bit of confidence. You're like, okay, I didn't die.
Yes.
I made it through the day.
Yes.
And then the confidence built in doing the work. And so for me, I was petrified.
There's no other way to build confidence.
No.
There's no
anything
other way.
else is fake.
It's fake, bro. It's fake. I always tell people, like, I was telling a guy this morning, he's in the fitness coaching space in Miami, which is a super competitive but super inflated space because there's a lot of losers that are life coaches in Miami that are just building on this facade of wake up and jump in a cold tub and eat 10,000 hard-boiled eggs and like just all this BS. And, you know, it was cool to hear him say, it's like, to separate yourself, you have to bring legitimate value. You have to have legitimate context of, here's what we're going to do to bring you value, for it to even be an exchange of value, of money for these goods, these services, et cetera, whatever it might be. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, I notice based off of when I'm engaging with somebody and the energy they bring to the room, how real they are. You know, by probably intuition that's developed over my last 6-7 years in the sales world and the insurance world, of my passion has increased in correspondence with my process endurance. The more I've endured, the more I've gone through, the more I've lost, the more passionate and convicting my message and myself, my energy has become. And I would love for it to be, oh yeah, I was 18 years old and became a billionaire and got a Bugatti. I'm still in the very beginning of the journey, is what it feels like. I'm 26 years old. I've grossed a couple M's and done very incredible for where I'm at, what I came from. But I feel like it's day one, just getting started. And I'm so grateful for the process. And I see that in you, and I see that in others. And that's why we're doing the pod. Is like, you have the conviction, you have the passion. And I know there is no shortcut. There's no cheat code. There's no, like I tell a lot of people, the BBL in Miami, the Brazilian butt lift for the guys, is the rented Huracan or a cheap Lamborghini, some cheap old, whatever. Some just trying to fit into the lifestyle of, I'll go spend a couple $1,000s a month on a car, I'll get a nice little pad, and I'll flex, you know, for my ego and my insecurity of, I'm making it, so pay me for a course and coaching and come do what I'm doing. And it's like, no, dude, it's going to cost you your 20s and your 30s, or wherever you're at. You could be starting at 50, 60 years old, and it's going to cost you a couple decades. The first decade is skill set development, character development. The second decade is just working out the kinks and really starting to capitalize on that, on the fruits. It really depends on, I guess, how you measure it too, because maybe some people make it a couple $100,000 is good, but then you got people that spend a couple $100,000 a day.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different ball game there.
Well, that's what I love so much about being in Miami, is it's like,
It opens
you're
your
exposed
eyes.
to so much more, and you're like, oh wow.
But there's hidden money in Texas.
Yeah, there is. It's just a little quieter.
It's
not
quieter.
as flashy. There's pockets of it.
It's
but
separated by hundreds of miles of ranches.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You get around some of the people out there in Texas. It's separated, but and that's why you like I like that as well. You think you make it, and then you hit a place like Montana, Wyoming. You get a place out there, a ranch out there in Texas, wherever. But Miami reminds you, because it's loud and it's like young dogs just coming up and barking and flexing and things like that. So it's definitely a good place to be at, I think, in the upcoming of the business. So, okay, so you start to pivot from insurance to what it is you're doing now. And then you said multiple 7-figure businesses. So like, let's talk on the business now. What does business look like for you, and what does it look like currently?
Yeah, so it's 2 businesses that support each other. So
Sick.
Senior living is the main thing. So assisted living and memory care is the main operating business.
Do you send individuals like hospice nurses to homes?
We work with them. We're actually opening up a home care division in Q1 of this year. So we're opening it right now. That will be sending people to people's homes to provide those services.
Hospice.
Okay.
So she would
God
go.
bless her. Yeah.
She would go and watch people in the middle of the night, and then she would work a desk job in the middle of the day just to try to provide for me and my little sister.
That takes a special person.
Yeah.
Hats off to her.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, getting into this was a little bit, it was totally unplanned the way it happened. The plan was to keep selling insurance, eventually take over the family business. And then along the way, I was investing in real estate. So, one of the lessons that I learned was delayed gratification. I'd lived at home till I was 22. That wasn't necessarily the cool thing to do. Staying at home, saving money, stacking money, trying to go to work, sell insurance, make as much as I can, and spend as little as possible.
Smart.
Allowed me to start investing in real estate. So I had my first real estate property whenever I was 22. I had bought a piece of land and built a duplex on it. General contracted that project myself. And then I went from living at home to I moved into that property. So house hacked the property, lived in one half, rented out the other. So living for free essentially at that point, which allowed me to keep stacking cash, keep buying more property, and build up a small rental portfolio. And so the plan was for me to keep investing in real estate and then building that passive income with the active income, making the main stuff in insurance. That was the original plan. Then I believe God had another plan, and we started researching some different ideas that we had with these properties of things we could do to increase cash flow, and started learning about what we do now, which is residential assisted living, which is essentially taking assisted living, and most people think like a big box facility with hundreds of beds. There's a lot of pitfalls and issues with that style, that model. Doesn't always provide the best care.
Yeah.
And so what we decided was to create a more boutique style experience and have these smaller communities that were able to provide much better care and a better quality of life for the residents themselves. And so what we did was we actually sold most of the rental properties that we had and started cold calling on the licensed list of small type B assisted living facilities. And we started with 2. So we happened to find these people that were looking to sell, and got connected with them, ended up buying those properties, and got in way over our heads. So the plan was I was going to keep selling insurance, and my wife and my mother-in-law were going to run the facilities. My mother-in-law has a nursing background, so she had worked privately in people's homes and then also in big communities, and saw the need for something that was an in-between. And so she was our original manager. We thought this was going to be a hands-off business that would be able to help a lot of people, but we didn't foresee it necessarily being a full-time, taking over the insurance deal. And when we got our third community, it was time for me to step away and get into the business full-time. So I stepped away from the insurance business and then went full-time into the assisted living business, and haven't looked back since. It's been a huge blessing, and we've been able to help a lot of people with that.
So is it like, so you buy properties and then place nurses, and then is it like senior living, like 55 plus can come and live in the properties?
Close. So our niche is more towards the end of life. So most of the residents that we have stay with us through the end of their lives. So we work very closely with a lot of hospice groups.
Yes.
Which is a whole other unique aspect of the business that I didn't foresee having so much value in itself, is just seeing people at the end of their lives and reflecting on how they've lived is a constant daily reminder for myself. Just take advantage of every day. Every day is a blessing.
Every day.
So it was a huge unforeseen thing, but essentially, yes. So we take these properties, we license them for what we do, which is assisted living. So there's a licensing process that goes through that, and that's the real estate component of our business. So that's something that I learned from working with Eric. Was we understood that we needed real estate to operate, but we didn't see it as its own business. Yeah. And so by having 2 side-by-side businesses that feed each other, the assisted living feeds the real estate business, and then we increase the value in the real estate by having a solid operating company. And we are able to do what's called a sale leaseback. So essentially, we control the value of the real estate by how much rent we pay from the operating company. So if we want to increase the value of the real estate, we can give up a little bit from the operating company, pay a little bit higher rent, and then increase the value of the real estate. And if we want to, we can sell that property and then go buy more properties, which is the main strategy that we do.
What's your ideal property for your business? And
big mansion style houses. So we definitely have more of a luxury model. We didn't want to do, just like a lower end, low rent. We didn't want to have to cut corners in any of our services. So we have a high end product. It's in very nice high end communities. We have private chefs at each of our communities.
Oh, wow. So your niche is also probably more so targeted to the white collar
yes.
kind of community of like individuals where, okay, like, you have a family that's done well for themselves and their grandfather or their grandmother is towards the end of life, but they don't want to put them into some abusive senior home, but they also don't have time to put them in their home. So you have some beautiful place where they can stay. And they pay on a monthly basis, an annual basis?
Monthly. Yep. So it's month to month.
Yeah.
Yep. So private pay.
That's sick. Yeah. Do you guys have like if you do annual, you get like a discount?
We don't at this point, but it's month to month. There's still some flexibility.
Yeah. That's sick. That's super sick. Wow. So how long have you been doing these 2 businesses?
Going on 4 years.
4 years. Yeah. Wow. And then what's been your most successful year?
This past year.
Year?
Yeah, so actually I started working with Eric in about a year ago. So it was January of last year.
Yeah.
And we saw explosive growth just working with Eric. That's what we're learning.
He's the most legit dude I've ever met.
Yeah.
Like out of all the entrepreneurs somebody I've met, he's the most legit. He doesn't even like when I talked to him about the insurance space, he's like, I don't know much about insurance, but he's always down to help, give advice, give connections. That's real wealth. You know what I mean? Like got the real results, but also just down to, yo, whatever I can do to help, I'll help.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what he's done for us. He's helped us tremendously. So I started working with him one-to-one, and I intentionally picked him out. We went to a mastermind at his house and met the guy, and I was like, okay, he's not just some Instagram guru that, you know, is flashing whatever. He's got a real story.
Yeah, he could flash way more, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And he's still in the trenches working and grinding. And so I saw somebody that I wanted to emulate, and I was like, okay, I want to hire this guy. So started working with him, and that's where we started learning a lot of the strategies that we're doing currently, and have seen just explosive growth through that. And it's really just set up. We're kind of in a slingshot moment in our business right now, where we've got a bunch of stuff that's in development that's getting built that wouldn't have even been possible without the connections of investing in the mentorship, investing in the community of in the inner circle group with them. So I've met a lot of other great connections through that. Phenomenal. Of other people that we're now working together. We're doing deals together. And that would have never happened without spending the money, paying to play, getting in the room, and intentionally putting myself in those communities.
Yeah, that's fire, bro. Absolute fire. So what's the plan and goals for this year?
Yeah, so this year, we just closed on our 4th site, so we're doing a construction project on that currently. So getting that one licensed and operating. We've got 2 other projects that are in development, so overseeing those projects. They should be completed hopefully by the end of the year. So that will essentially double the size of our company currently. And then in addition to that, we're opening up the home care side of the business. So we're going through the licensing process for that currently, and essentially capturing more of the market. And right now we're serving people who need 24/7 care, but there's a lot of people that prior to being in a 24/7 community, they might start with 8 hours of home care where somebody's coming into their communities.
Yes.
And right now there's just not a lot of great options for that. And we see it in our market because we hear the complaints of people that are like, well, you know, we've got somebody that is coming, 6-8 hours a day, and they're okay. They're just not the most reliable. They're sitting on their phones, not being very interactive, whatever. It's just kind of a glorified babysitter.
Yeah.
And we saw a need for something that's a lot more interactive, a lot more white glove, if you will. And so that's where we're opening up the home care side of the business to meet people where they are. It'll be a lead funnel for the main business. Once they need 24/7 care, if they graduate to that.
And that'll be more going to the home.
Exactly.
And just giving you, hey, 6-8 hours, 10 hours, whatever you want to do, and using that smart.
And then that caregiver, they form a bond with them. If they've been with them for a year or two, they're oftentimes become their closest friend.
Yeah, that's how my mom was. She developed friends with some of these people. Yeah.
And so then that caregiver will actually come with them to our communities.
Wow.
And so help them get settled in, spend like the first month or two there, integrating into our community with them and letting everybody else know in the facility all the unique things that they love and enjoy, so they can have the best quality of life as they're adapting to being in a new community.
Are you all 50 states?
Not yet. No, we're in Texas right now.
I feel like Florida would kill it with the population and the demographic of.
Yeah, that's definitely one of our next states that we want to jump into.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You just get a mansion down here in Miami.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine that? Like telling your grandparents, hey, we're going to put you up in Miami to spend the rest of your days. It'd be sick.
Yeah.
I hope my kids do that for me.
And I know we need to, because we have people in our communities now that actually came from Miami to Austin. So the need's definitely here.
Okay, so what things do you think you could have done better last year that you're excited to implement this year?
So last year, I would say that one of the biggest things that I learned was you don't know what you don't know. And so by hiring a coach and learning stuff, just opening my eyes to all kinds of new strategies, different mindset, thinking about things differently. And one of the books that I read this past year was 10X is easier than 2X. And it's essentially the same amount of work to build a company 10X the size as it is to double your company size. Yeah. And so we took a step back and we realized, okay, if we're the ones that are trying to operate everything and be in every part of the business, we're the bottleneck to our own growth. And so shifting the mindset is something that happened this past year that I wish would have happened sooner. And thinking about things differently. And instead of trying to be the person who does it all, that's a very limiting thing. It's us as entrepreneurs, we wanted to just take on the work, just do it ourselves. Yes. That kind of grind, hustle aspect of things. And there's a time for that. But in order to scale and grow, you can't do every part of the business. And so now it's shifted to developing a team, developing core values, operating our business off of those core values, and building a company culture that is able to grow and still provide the excellent service, the excellent feel, the culture that we've developed. But it doesn't have to be my wife and I that are in the communities every single day developing that ourselves, because we built this incredible team that's able to operate autonomously, and we're there as more of a supporting role. So that's what I'm excited about this next year.
And let's take a moment and now start to coach me and the entrepreneurs in here that are about to go into business with their partners. So as I plan on getting married, at least proposing next year or this year. So congratulations, happy New Year's, everybody. Congratulations to me. But
that's awesome, man.
But thank you, man. And we met on the yacht. You guys are like, we've been in business together for 3 years. Like, okay, you guys haven't killed each other, making money and having a good time. What role do you play in the business? What role does she play? And let's just start to talk about, building a business with your wife.
Yeah, so it's a unique dynamic. I don't think it's cut out for everybody.
Yeah.
I think that having grace with each other is a big thing, and understanding, like, for me, I'm a driver. I'm an aggressive person. So get up early, work hard, put in the effort, bring the energy, and force that business growth.
Yeah.
And so I'm on all the time. It can come off as aggressive. And my wife has been just very gracious with me, and understanding that, if that aggression bleeds over to our relationship, and it's not me trying to be aggressive towards her in any way, shape, or form. It's, I'm excited about this business growth. I'm excited about what we're doing, that intensity. And so she's very much a supporting role. Everything that I do, I couldn't do without her. She makes all the little things happen. She does a lot of meal prepping for me. She thinks about the little details that I don't think about or want to think about. She makes my life easier in every capacity. So, and then when we go home at night, she's the peace. We don't have strife in our home life, because we're working with each other, but we're not on top of each other every day. She's handles a lot more of the kind of a consulting role on the operations side of things, because she built that side of the business from the ground up.
Yeah.
So she knows how the operations work intimately. She knows how every system works. She knows how all that works.
Because it's kind of like a motherly love that you've got to bring. Because, as human beings, we're babies. You need the mom to kind of baby the baby and nurture the baby. And then we go through almost this cycle of you're a baby, you're an adult, and now as you start to pass away, you just become like a big baby again. You get diapers, you need taken care of. You need someone to, help you move, help you walk, help you eat, and remind you of things and things. So it's so crazy how life works. It literally is this big cycle. You start as a baby, you almost return into the form of a baby. And so it's like, as I'm thinking of your business model, it's like, you need the driver, you need the vision, you need that aggressive, that man, that king that can drive the business. But you are in a niche that absolutely needs a loving role to help train the different men and women that are working with your clients, and giving them that white glove and that love and nature. Because you were riding quarter horses and getting bucked off horses and working in fields all day. So you might be able to bring a soft touch, but there's nothing like a woman's touch and a motherly love.
Yeah, absolutely. So that feminine side is so necessary to kind of balance the masculine side out that I bring. It has to. You got to have it. It's the yin and yang. Yeah. And so we definitely complement each other.
I think complements every business, but 1,000% your business. Yeah. You remove, one of you, I don't think the business works. You know what I mean? You need the driver.
Yep.
But you absolutely need the mother as well. You need that love as well. So that's good. So we're hearing the same things as we start to interview entrepreneurs, relationships of couples that are building business together, and it's communication, it's grace, it's not letting an argument be an argument longer than it needs to be. Yeah. You have a miscommunication, you have a disagreement, compromise and move on.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and you hear it all the time, but don't go to bed angry. And that's something that we do. It's like, there's definitely times where we're both passionate people, so we get fired up. She's half Latina, so she brings that to the table, and so, we get fired up and passionate about stuff. And there's times where we just like, okay, let's go take a walk. Yep. Let's just go walk and talk. We'll cool off a little bit and return to this conversation when we're in a little better headspace, so that we don't end up saying things we don't want to say
Yeah.
and regretting it. And we don't go to bed angry at each other. We just always have that open line of communication of,
Yes.
talking things through. And
Yeah.
sometimes, something will be taken the wrong way or whatever. And
Yes.
we always figure it out. So just being committed to that.
I always tell Gally, that's my favorite thing to say when she's getting passionate and I'm getting passionate. It's like, well, you're just half Latina. That's why. You know what I mean? She's from half Argentinian and half Israeli. I'm like, no wonder. You know what I mean? You're absolutely a wizard with numbers. You had that passion in with your Argentinian, your Latina side. Now you got a little.
There's nothing like
you
it.
got a little time bomb. So, but I'm the same way, man. I've come a long way. But I mean, the right woman is more than a blessing. When I think
absolutely.
I read Proverbs over and over and over again for the last 6 years, pretty much every single day. I would read a proverb that corresponded with the date, and I just I never really sought it out, but I just always thought to myself, it was, as Proverbs kind of describes. I think it's Proverbs 31, and it describes like just the ideal woman, the ideal queen, And I was like, man, you never really know they exist until you find one, and you're like, man, this is the best girl in the entire world. When you find that partner, when you find that, and that goes for the girls too, you find that king, and then the men, when you find that queen that complements every aspect of your life, like she literally brings joy to the the saddest places of my life and light to the darkest places of my life, and in the business, she's bringing complementing areas that is like, I'm not patient to sit down and go over every detail and every number. Like, I want to go to work. You know what I mean? We'll figure out the numbers later.
Yeah.
Like, she's like just so complimentary in every aspect of life. You can't even describe how beautiful and amazing, the right one is for you. And I almost look at it as like, you almost wish like you didn't even know anybody prior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I look at all the energy and time and resources spent prior to her. I'm like, man, you know what I mean? Like everything was a loss before you.
Yeah.
And like now it's like I met her. It's like a whole new life. We're about to build this business and just do these incredible things. And I look at them like, man, God bless you, man. You know what I mean? You got that in your life. There's no bigger blessing than that. Because when we're 90 years old and we're on our exit journey, and you get to see that every single day in your business.
And you see the people that are 95 years old and they're holding hands and they're each other's best friends.
And they're not checking their bank accounts every day of like, oh, I made hundreds of millions, I made billions. Who's around?
Yeah.
What memories do you make? And I already saw this. Do your grandkids have a picture of you in their house? Because your parents are gone. Some of your siblings are gone. All you know now is your descendants.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's going to be your real impact. Oh, look at all this I accomplished. That's a byproduct. Mm-hmm. The real reflection of how good of a man or a woman you were are your kids coming to see you.
Yeah.
And I bet that's painful to see. How painful is that when you work with clients and they're just putting themselves in your business, but they don't got any kids or grandkids? Nobody's there.
Yeah.
What's that like?
That's a dark thing to see. And it's very sad when you see somebody that
has like no one.
They don't have anybody. And, it could be for lots of different circumstances.
Yeah.
But, that's a sad place to be, and we try the best that we can to be their family, but there's no replacement.
There's no replacing blood.
And something that I've seen that we've really taken to heart is that in the niche that we're in, we have a lot of business owners and retired business owners that we get to take care of, and the ones that their employees come and still visit them, that's special.
Wow.
And that's really cool. We've got a guy, he's a retired dentist, and he's got staff that was with him. There's probably 10 plus staff members that were with him for 30 years in his dentist practice that come see him, every other week and check in on him, and they care about him. And it's like that, in addition to his family. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's like seeing how well he treated people.
Yeah.
And us as business owners, we're like, okay, we want to develop that type of company culture where when we're in that spot, we want our employees to come remember us. And,
that's the hallmark of success.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you do more for others than they can do for you, I think that's the best thing you could ever do.
Yeah.
How can I serve somebody more than they could ever serve me? How can I give value to somebody more than they could ever give to me? And you build this reputation genuinely of loving and caring for God's kids. It doesn't pay well overnight, but over time, the fulfillment that you receive from that and the byproduct of the wealth that comes from that, because you can't outgive God. I always tell, like, when I'm worried, we're investing, we're building and things like that, I'm like, I can't outgive God. You know what I mean? He's going to take care of me. He's going to make a way. So that's fire. Absolute fire. Let's talk some more personal life things. So, what about out of all the business and I see you working out Arate and Frisella. What about is there anybody else that you're mentored by that's very influential in your life? You like to have you done any one on ones with Andy Frisella or
Not one-to-ones, but I've been in the Arte group for about 2 years now.
yeah?
So Andy and Ed Milet.
Ed was life insurance.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still is, but I know he was life insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's like the GOAT.
The goat of insurance. Bro.
Yeah.
One of them, like a PBD.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we've got 3 calls a month with them that have been incredibly impactful on my life. And just, so going back to like the personal development side of things is that getting into business, I saw it firsthand with my dad and seeing some of the struggles that he went through building his company. But there's nothing like experiencing it firsthand. And when we decided to take the step going into business for ourselves full time, you take that leap and you're like, okay, well, it's on us now. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it's also on us.
Yeah.
And we went through plenty of struggles. And there was times when we didn't know how we were going to make payroll. We didn't know, where the money was going to come from. We were struggling. We had a partnership split that happened. There was, we had to close down some of the facilities after we started them. And I leaned into personal development at that time. And without that, we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And I learned to control the factors that I had control of, and gives you some aspect of, okay, no matter what happens today, I'm going to do everything that I have control over. And that's it.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the rest is up to God.
Yes.
And whatever else happens, let it happen.
Amen.
But you got to put in the work too. And that's where I learned to just to be able to sleep at night. I mean, it really came down to, I'm not just going to sit around and let this thing implode on itself if it's going to happen. I'm going to put in the effort every single day and do everything that I'm capable of physically, take care of my body, show up in the best way that I can, set an example for our employees, set an example for everyone in my life, and do everything that I can to control those things. And then it shifts the energy. When you're able to take control of those things, it sounds kind of crazy to think that they're related, but it absolutely is. And you know this as good as anybody, is that how you show up physically is how you show up in every area of your life. And so the personal development side of that, the reading the books, educating the mind, growing physically, taking care of yourself physically, the nutrition, the fitness, all of that, it's all tied together. It's all a total package. Without that, the money, you can make money without that, but it's not the same. You're missing a whole component of that personal development. And you're probably going to lose it. If you don't have the personal development, you don't have the character to withstand that success, then it's going to come and go. It's going to be a flash in the pan, and you're going to be just, some person who, flashed on Instagram or whatever, and they're gone in 2 years. It's
Literally.
Like, the personal development wasn't there. And so when our backs were against the wall and we had nothing else to do, I was like, okay, well, the Live Hard program is what I did. So I'm in phase 3 right now, my second year of doing it.
Yep.
And I turned to that for the first year. So when we're backs up against the wall, didn't know what we were going to do, I was like, well, let's try this Live Hard program and see what happens. And so I did, and instilled enormous amounts of discipline, fortitude, grit, self-determination. All of the qualities that you need as an entrepreneur are solidified through that program, because it's something that you can't cheat it. And if you cheat it, you didn't complete it. It's going to bed at night knowing that you had the integrity to do everything that you said you were going to do that day, and building that confidence through that, and shifting the energy brought the right people into our lives at the right time. We were able to get out of a hole that we didn't think we were going to be able to get out of to begin with. And none of that would have happened without intentionally taking control of those things.
Yeah, that's fire. That's absolute fire. Who is the wealthiest person you know?
Wealthiest person I know, with a close relationship, would be Eric Spofford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what about kind of close, not that close?
So in the insurance business, there was a handful of people that definitely had billion-dollar net worths that we got to work with. And seeing how they lived was pretty incredible, getting to go visit their homes. And
was it PNC?
Yes. So
I hear crazy things about the PNC. I always hear like the PNC has got some money in it.
Yeah, we had a guy that just a crazy deal that I can't say names or anything,
Yeah,
but just to give you an idea. He was a work comp attorney. So he built the #1 work comp attorney firm in the entire country. And he started it in the 60s. And he was like the first law firm to use computers. He was like super revolutionary in that. And he happens to live in Austin. And he had multiple different estates that we got to insure. And anyway, that was one of my first glimpses into like true wealth. I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, it's just like mind
It's
blowing.
inspiring. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What about what part of how close are you in Austin to Rogan and the Mother Factory or whatever he calls it?
Oh yeah, Elon Musk stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
not too far at all. Yeah,
For real?
yeah, it's
That's
all
sick.
within
Do you
probably
like
15
comedy
minutes.
shows? You guys do any?
A little bit. Yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
and there's not much time to really do much when you're building and everything like that. But I'm always curious on like when you do let out an hour. Like I'm not a bit. Me and Gally aren't big on like macro. Like we don't care about trips, vacations, but micro. You know what I mean? You get a half hour, an hour just to reset your brain every day. Whether we go to bed, put The Office on, something like that. Whatever, something small. What's that for you? Are you a micro, stimulant of like, hey, I'll take a half hour and just re-stimulate my brain, or are you guys macro? You'll take a week out of the year and we're going to the Bahamas. What's that look like for you and Catherine?
It's more on the micro side. There's definitely times when we're like, okay, let's go take a trip or whatever, but the trips are always business related.
Yeah, we're doing business. Yeah, we're
we're
going on a
coming
trip,
here to
we're doing
go
business.
network and meet people. And
If
there's
someone
gonna
told
be,
me to take more than a day and not do any type of business related things, I would jump off of a cliff. I would be like, I don't know how to do that. You know what I mean?
me
But
too.
like,
And then it stresses you out. You're
yeah,
like,
yeah, dude.
I'm not relaxed right now.
And
This
it's not a
is-
money thing. That's how I'm wired.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And
I'm
I thought
wired
that
that way.
forever. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Then I realized, okay, it's actually a blessing. The drive's a blessing. We need to lean into that and do something big with it.
Yeah.
But no, definitely the micro things at the end of the day, that's our time to unplug. We spend our days talking to people all day, being social and all of that. And so
You guys have a favorite show, a favorite movie?
not big into watching shows and movies. We do watch a few, but
What
not
do
a
you
whole
guys?
lot.
What's your micro release then? What is it? You guys play games?
My wife's big into TikTok. She saves up her funnies
You
on
got
TikTok.
some funny. Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll sit there and she'll show me the funny stuff she's
Here's the
saved up
funny
on
things.
TikTok.
Let's go.
And then spend 30 minutes at the end of the day just
Yeah.
chilling out, relaxing, turning our brains off a little bit, and then
I've gotten thousands of leads off TikTok. I'm not a big scroller on it, but I've had videos go and get 6-7 million views, and 99% of them get like no views. You know what I mean? You get a couple thousand views, you get a couple hundred views, but it's just that one take off, boom. You know what I mean? So that's sick. What about favorite restaurant? I love food.
I would say Vince Young Steakhouse, one of my favorites.
Is that out there in Austin?
Out there in Austin, yeah.
Dude, I went to it. I forget what it was. It was a omakase sushi that Rogan had recommended.
Okay.
And it's out there near Austin, but we had to drive like 30 minutes out. It was like some farm or something, but there was an omakase, like it was like $800 a chair or something. It was insane. Yeah. You know the sushi where they prepare it right in front of you? Mm-hmm. Insane. Incredible. I took Gally to one down here. It sucked. But I was like, you're going to love this. We sit there. She's like, I don't like any of it. I'm like, all right, we'll just leave. But, dude, insane. What are you steak-wise? Ribeye? Tomahawk?
I like New York strips.
New York strip?
I like fillets.
Yeah.
I like ribeyes too.
Dude, I eat ribeye pretty much every other day. You have to try Nooser ET, the Salt Bay place.
Oh, yeah?
It's right here in Brickell, right? Like we
cool.
live right by it. And they've got this ribeye cap is the cut of the steak. It's insane. It's insane. It's incredible. That's good. Carbone is good if you've been to Carbone. Mm-hmm. They're phenomenal. The one in Miami?
I haven't been to the Miami one, no.
Gotta go to Carbone, Miami. Spofford put me on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, go get the spicy rigatoni.
Okay.
Yeah, Spofford, Felipe. Tell them Tristan told you to go get the spicy rigatoni. They'll go nuts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they'll go nuts. Man. Well, is there anything else you want to add? We're about an hour in. Is there anything else on your mind? Where can people find you? They want to do business with you?
Find me on Instagram, the Parker Patterson. Yeah, and something that I would say is just talking to young men out there. I think that we all kind of have this idea of what success is, and might think that it's the Wolf of Wall Street version of success, and the drugs and the partying and all that. And that's not where it's at. Success can be when finding an incredible woman that loves you to death and that you get to go to bat for every single day and provide for, and work together and support each other's dreams. And that is 10 times more special than anything else. And so just speaking to myself at 20 years old, not knowing, necessarily what success looked like or what I wanted to do, but God knew that he had a plan for me and brought the right woman into my life at the right time. And without her, none of this would have been possible. And she bet on me. And so that's
They
a
always do.
huge
They bet on
motivation.
us. They're like calculating, which one should I bet on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, well,
You talk
thank
about
God you bet on
motivation.
me.
I'm like, I'm not going to let you lose. Like,
Yes.
You bet on me. We're going to do everything we can to make it happen.
I told Gally, I was like, I've been telling her since day one I'm going to marry her. And I was like, the one vow I can give to you is I vow I'm going to grow until I die. You bet on me. I can promise you. I can't promise you things are going to be perfect always.
Yeah.
But I promise you, until I draw my last breath, I'm going to be on my feet.
Absolutely.
I'm going to grow. I'm never on my knees crying, pouting, complaining. And until I die, on my feet, pursuing growth in every aspect of my life.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I love that.
this was fire. Guys, Parker Patterson. Make sure you guys check him out. The Parker Patterson on social media platforms. Stay tuned. This podcast is going to be sick. Let's go. Peace.